Hello and welcome back to the Perth to Paisley Podcast, the podcast covering the Championship 2020-2021 winners, Heart of Midlothian. I am one of your hosts as usual, Daniel McIver, and I am, again as usual, joined by Adam Kennedy. Adam, how you doing?
I'm all good, thanks, mate. Well, I say that. I'm somewhat fuming in that last week when our good pal Cammy Anderson was on, I mentioned how I'd find it solid to drag out talking about our 0-0 draw with Dunfermline at East End, and now all of a sudden it's goals galore in Gorgie, and you get to discuss a 6-0 win that sees us win the league. But other than that, I mean, all's well. What about yourself?
I'm doing very well. For people who follow me on Twitter, they will know I have had 4 hours sleep in the last 48 hours because it was a big wrestling show with WrestleMania. However, I've got Hearts winning a league to keep me energised and keep me energetic. However, we're not going to talk about that immediately because mainly, Adam, everybody's been doing a lot of talking in the press.
They have, and with good reason. I think Hearts are at the forefront of Scottish football news at the minute, aren't they? Certainly ever since sort of the past few fixtures leading up to the Alloa game. So yeah, everybody seems to have had their say. So it just goes to show that even in the second tier, Hearts are still, massive.
Absolutely. And if you want to talk about Hearts, you know the script by now. Talk of the tune, big Hearts calls. Get involved every Tuesday and Thursday. The class. And now there's positivity to speak about. We've won a league. Get in.
I'm not sure though, mate, if I think Big Hearts will need to come out and say something, given obviously we play Morton next Tuesday night, so I don't know if there's going to be one going ahead or whether it'll be earlier, but obviously check the website for all the necessary info, folks.
Absolutely. All the links are, as usual, in the description. You can get them at Big Hearts on all the different social medias as well. However, we will start off with some of that talking that was done in the press. So, as Adam mentioned, last week Hearts drew 0-0 against Dunfermline. Adam, do you think that the media reacted to that in a positive or negative way compared to the fans? And by the media, I mean pundits.
I think the pundits are glossing over sort of the bigger picture. I look at it and I just think that there are numerous pundits on these kind of various media outlets that seem to just be adamant that because Hearts have now won the league, they don't seem to gauge why the fans are as angry as we are. I feel as though they're just sort of sweeping everything else, like the cup exits and what have you, under the carpet. It seems to be shut up and accept that you've won promotion. That seems to be the message that I'm getting from various pundits and various media outlets, like I say.
Well, one pundit who seemed to agree with a lot of the anger from Hearts fans, if not agree, definitely understand why there is a lot of anger, is friend of the podcast and loved by the podcast, Mr. Stephen Presley.
Half the podcast.
Full. So, Stephen Presley, in what is, I think everyone can agree, quite an uncharacteristic for the man, who is normally quite well-tempered, quiet, droll kind of way of speaking, he got incredibly animated on BBC Sports Sound, where Daily Record went with the headline that Stephen Presley launches stunning Hearts blast as he hammers Anne Budge and the Foundation in furious rant, including Christoph Berra. So, we're going to run through what Presley says. I'm going to run through it in its entirety, then I will come to you to give your overall thoughts on what he said, because I think it's very interesting. So, Levine was on it as well. Kenny McIntyre was the host as usual. And Presley said, there's a couple of things just now, the direction of the club in terms of the stability of it moving forward with the playing staff and the coaches, but there's also a severe lack of leadership within the club at exact this moment in time. Fantastic words there, Elvis. In Anne, I think you've got a really good woman, really good person who wants the best for Hearts, but she's not showing, in my opinion, real leadership just now. I even look here at a statement she made on the back of the disappointment at Brora. This was a time where I felt Robbie needed real support. If you read in depth into the statement, she gave him no support. Presley then took aim at club icon Jim Jeffries, so Thomas Nicol must have been absolutely loving his life because he's not the only one attacking the Jet.
And got a shed load of abuse for it, and quite rightly so in my eyes, but never mind.
I'm looking at guys like Jim Jeffries, who's appointed to the board as an advisor at a time when Robbie needs stability, support, that guy by his shoulder. I don't see him. I don't see it at all. There are issues around this club. There are these people who are within this football club, who are around it, who portray themselves as these great Hearts men and have the best interests of the club at heart, that attach themselves to this club and prey on moments like this, wait on moments like this, love moments like this, and don't stand side by side with the manager. It's a club lacking leadership. I just look again there at the weekend. Craig made comments on the back of the Queen of the South game on Christoph Berra, someone that I really like, I have a lot of respect for, but he's the captain of that football club. Craig, you were disappointed by his lack of leadership. I was even more disappointed by the lack of leadership he showed in the back of that. Referring to the fact that he is leaving for Wraith Rovers at a time where Hearts needed to batten down the hatches. He took the easy option out. He's had to show strength, take the flak that was coming, understood the situation and move forward alongside his manager. He didn't. He took the easy option, and I see that far too often at Heart of Midlothian Football Club. It is now where Stephen Presley's, you can audibly hear him start banging the table. I don't see Savage coming out and support the manager. I don't see any of these things. I'm beating the table here because I'm passionate about this. I'm passionate about that football club, and it lacks steel, it lacks leadership. He then moved on finally to the Foundation of Hearts, where he said, do you know what else concerns me? That could go under the stewardship of the Foundation of Hearts. You can't have a situation when you're putting your money in and in the back of some disappointing results you leave with the situation within the club. You either put the money in unconditionally, or not at all. Not at all. And then he would go on to speak about Nielsen and how he feels that relegation was a blessing in disguise, that he thinks he'll get promotion, and that he deserves support in the summer. So, I know that was quite a lot right at the start, but first of all, did you expect that level of emotion from any pundit, to be honest? Even like, I know Elvis is associated with a club, which is why they get people like him, Levine, Neil McCann and stuff like that on, because they're kind
Alan
of hoping.
Preston's another.
Exactly, yeah. Derek Ferguson's on it a couple of times as well. They get people who have a stake in Hearts, but very rarely do they do this, like where they actually go on kind of like an impassioned rant. So before we actually get into what he said, what did you make of the way he actually said it?
I was taken aback, to be honest. I mean, I've slated Elvis for his previous actions. I thought that this was sort of a morally bankrupt man with regards to what he'd done. But it's funny, talking about Elvis, I think the point that Darryl Broadfoot, he was also on the panel, and he made a point just before Elvis's rant, which I thought was very interesting, when he was talking about things sort of being too easy. And he mentioned players talking in the media, alongside the fact that he claimed that they're well paid, that Anne Budge looks after them and such. However, I thought that the most important aspect that he mentioned was Hearts players having to deliver on the park, and it seems as though we forget about the latter part. So perhaps the Hearts dads are bang on in what they say, and that it should be football first and speaking second. As for Presley's rant, like I say, I was taken aback. I did not expect that. I'm not going to lie, it pulled me in a little bit when he was talking about the kind of passion that he has for Hearts and what have you. But I mean, I think I sort of jotted down the kind of main points. The severe lack of leadership. I could have sworn that I'd said on a podcast that we had a lack of leaders on the park. I think it was maybe after the Queen of the South game. But his was obviously generally in the lack of support towards Robbie from Budge and Jim Jeffries as well. The Christoph Berra stuff I thought was quite bizarre. He mentioned that he was disappointed in Berra not taking the flak that inevitably came after the Brora Rangers game. I mean, he also said that he was the club captain, but I'll overlook that. But taking the easy option, I wasn't fully aware that the easy option was him coming out and saying that he's moving to Wraith Rovers. I thought that the easy option was kind of the sit down, I think it was with Barry Anderson or somebody at the evening.
Oh, when he said it was coming. Like
or when he said to the press generally that it wasn't good enough. Again, going back to the Paisley rant, I thought him turning on the foundation was quite brave, I'll say, because his main point was saying to obviously chuck the money unconditionally in or not at all. I'm putting my money in unconditionally, but equally I can understand supporters' frustrations. I'm one of them myself. That's why we have this podcast to rant and rave about Hearts. But I just feel as though some of the fans are left with no option because they feel as though the club don't take notice in any other way, as opposed to to do with any other discontent. It seems as though financial figures are going to be the only reason that they feel as though change is going to happen. And then he kind of talked about recruitment, saying that it hadn't been good enough. I think for him to talk about recruitment not being good enough and simultaneously back Robbie, I don't know whether there's a little clash in there. I know that Robbie's only had, 2 windows in, i.e. the summer, which is bound to be hard to attract given obviously we've dropped to the second tier. I can understand all that, the shortened season, blah blah blah. January again, we've talked about kind of not getting that quality, but we've brought in a couple in January, obviously looking at Stuart Finlay in a pre-contract in January which fell through, so I don't know. The recruitment and the Robbie contradiction I thought was quite bizarre, but again he spoke about kind of the recruitment not being good for a few years and not just in Nielsen's tenure. The fact that it's down to different managers, play styles, which I feel sorry for Robbie to an extent, but again, performances and results on the park. Yes, we've now won the league, but it's not been good enough for a wee while, in my eyes anyway. Obviously, you've kind of been numb towards it, and fair play to you. I mean, I wish I was kind of in that same boat, to be fair, but I don't know. Paisley obviously touched on the poor recruitment, and then spoke about Robbie working with Savage, yet Joe Savage wasn't in place. So he's done his research when it came to this rant, and it was just a real surprise. But again, despite the nick that Hearts are perceived to be in, quite heartwarming in truth for me.
I think that's been the biggest takeaway from it, because listen, I disagree with some things that he said, where I know what he means when he's speaking about the foundation of Hearts, and especially at this point when we are about to take full ownership, it is the most crucial time to keep pledges going, so I do understand that. However, as we have said numerous times on this, it's like we would urge, like, if you take away anything from this show, it's that don't stop putting your money in. But I'm not going to say someone isn't a fan or that they're an idiot and stuff like that if they do stop it. Additionally, I kind of thought the Berra stuff was a wee bit weird regardless which way you look at it. If he is speaking about the media stuff, I agree with them, but it's like, well, was Berra just told to do that in the press? And if he did mean going to Wraith, it's like, well, no, but Hearts fans want him out, like he should be away.
And alternatively, mate, sorry to cut you off there, he also it talks about Berra coming out in the press. If Christoph Berra hadn't said anything, he'd have been scrutinised as well, because there was a stage where Budge hadn't came out and said anything, and the fans, quite rightly so, myself and amongst them, were going absolutely bonkers, saying that we need some clarity either way. So I think Christoph Berra was at a no-win situation there, which is obviously understandable given the result. In
fairness, he was maybe in a no-win situation, but he somehow found option C of no-win as well. He didn't need to say we were expecting it had been coming. See, no. Even if that is true, don't say that publicly.
Yeah, that was a kind of shot himself in the foot scenario there, wasn't it? Really.
But listen, right, and it's been used against me and against him and for me and for him. But it's become the joke that I love Stephen Paisley. That's not a joke. That is true. Like, I love Stephen Paisley. Nothing's going to change that. So when everybody saw this, I got loads of mentions going, "Oh, you love this," and it's like, I'll be honest, I didn't care that it was Stephen Paisley saying it. It was the fact that someone was saying it. And that perfectly links us on to our fellow podcast friend and Talk of the Toon compatriot, and just general guy that we know. Liam Corbett was invited onto Sports Sound as well with John Collins and stuff like that. He got into it with John Collins a wee bit. Barry Anderson was also on the call. This was obviously after Presley's comments, wasn't it? It was after Presley's comments.
So the Presley one I think was the Monday night, because that was Hibs Queens in the Cup.
Yes, it was.
And I think Corbett was on Tuesday.
Yes.
If my memory serves me.
Listen, it's also become a joke that me and Liam Corbett can argue about anything regardless of how undisputed that fact is. But I felt that I disagreed with some of his points. I agreed with a lot of his points. I think the biggest positive of Liam going on that was that it was really good to have someone there. And also I want to say credit as well to Barry Anderson as well, as I felt both they two were able to get across a Hearts fan perspective into this narrative that is prevalent within John Collins, Kenny McIntyre, Chris Sutton, Michael Stewart and stuff like that, that this is ridiculous and Hearts fans are massively overreacting, and it's all on the back of the week of results with Brora and Queen of the South. I really appreciate that both Barry and Liam managed to convey that no, the anger that is prevalent within fans is bigger than this season even.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've touched on your relationship with Corbett there. I feel as though Liam's like, I don't know, he's like a kind of this is going to sound really cheesy, and I apologise if he's listening, but I feel he's like a big brother to me. I feel as though we're sort of on that same wavelength, and that we do both get emotional and frustrated, and I don't know. Anyway, but I thought he was excellent, and particularly when going up against John Collins in particular, I feel as though, you know, Corbett does his research. He's a bright guy. He's not going to come unprepared, and everything that John Collins kind of kept batting at him, Corbett was able to shut down. And it just, to me, I feel as though it's sort of an accurate representation of where media's going, and that it's not all about your sort of established former senior pros and managers, and that fans have a big say, because ultimately they're the ones that go and watch every single week. So I was really chuffed with how well he performed, and Barry Anderson as well was really good. I mean, I know he covers Hearts, not entirely sure he supports them, but listen, he's bound to have adopted a little soft spot, surely.
He's a Scotland fan. He doesn't have a club.
Classic.
He's a Scotland fan.
This is what I can't fathom as well, because I tried to keep my Hearts allegiance secret on my personal account, but then I see, then obviously with the Perth to Paisley tag, it's like, well, I now have Hearts banded under my name, so I don't know. I don't think it really makes a monkeys, but I'd be intrigued to see who Barry does support. I can't see it being Hearts. I
legitimately do just think he is a Scotland fan. I don't think he has a club. I do think that is a thing.
Every chance. Sorry, mate, I was going to say as well, because we didn't speak about Monday night and Levine's say-so.
Oh, yeah.
Him touching on the fluctuating Foundation of Hearts payments was really interesting for me. Did you take anything away from that? Because surely the board and the Hearts hierarchy look at the payments up and down and judge their decisions off the back of that, or is that just crazy for me to say? Because for him to come out and agree that the turnover of players has been too frequent is laughable, but again, saying that, surely then that plays on his conscience that the payments are up and down, no?
I don't think it's black and white. I think there will be an element of decisions at the top and bottom of the club will be made with how is this going to be received by the fans. But I feel like that's going to, obviously this isn't a shocking thing to say, that is how every single football club will operate. They'll go, priority is how will the fans react to this. Obviously, with us, it's a wee bit more intense than that, because we are about to become the controlling shareholders and we will own the club. I don't think they sit on the board and go, right, the Foundation of Hearts pledges are dropping, so therefore we just need to give in to all demands whatever they say goes for the next couple of months, and then we'll get back onto it once they're all a wee bit happier again. We're back over that 8,000 mark or whatever it is, right? However, again though, on the flip side, there is representatives from the foundation and the board. Whether or not people believe they are doing what they should be doing, they are still there, and we are a voice. Like, it means that, yeah, we're not necessarily just going to say we want the manager sacked. And even with the amount of people who have been saying it recently, it doesn't just mean it's automatically going to be happening, but it will be a conversation that is going on, going, look at this level of anger and aggression or passion, and that now in a very individual scenario is, well, they're like the owners. And again, that's the thing, we're going to be fan owned, not fan run, because that would be the worst thing in the world if we were fan run, right? That would never work. It would be horrifically bad. I think some fans do need to remember that just because we are suddenly in charge doesn't mean just, oh, well, the fan base has this thought, so therefore it's going to happen. But it was interesting. Obviously, Levine then also, a wee bit earlier in the week, said, he joked about how, don't ask me how they got relegated, ask Daniel Stendhal. In a way of like, he was clearly joking, but he didn't finish the joke, so left himself open to a lot of aggression.
I still couldn't believe he came out and said that though.
He is clearly joking, but he doesn't finish it, so he goes like, oh, don't ask me, ask Daniel Stendhal. And then
the tone, it's a funny tone as well.
What he then should do is go, once he said that, he should go, nah, but seriously, and then make his point. But he just goes, hey, ask Daniel Stendhal, and then just makes his point. And it's like, no, Craig, listen, I get you were being funny, but some folk won't get that you're being funny, or some people will just be like, I don't give a shit if he's trying to be funny, shut the fuck up.
I'm in that latter camp. I'm still 50-50 as to whether he was trying to be funny or not. I'd need to hear it back, to be honest.
I think he is. However, this was all building, all this media speculation, and we were going to be playing Alloa on the TV. It then got moved to iPlayer, which now just should be our home. I'm fully on board with the iPlayer home. There was a lot of pressure, especially because if we won, then it meant results going our way at the weekend meant we would win the league.
Rovers and Dundee obviously had to then match our victory to keep it alive.
Absolutely. We will get on to that. However, there was some... I don't think there was trepidation going into it. I don't think anyone was nervous. What I think people were nervous about was it. I think everybody went in going, right, we're going to win this game. But the worry was it's going to be another unconvincing, tough game. We won't get out the traps for the first half. We'll then do alright in the second half, maybe nick a goal or two and win either 1 or 2-0 and fans will still be raging.
I had 2-0 as my sort of prediction heading into it. I don't know about you.
I had 1-0. So...
ever the optimists are we?
Yeah, shows the state of the club now. However, the team did come out. Now, just before, by the way, I just want to tell you how BBC thinks we played. Right?
Oh, God.
So apparently, we played a 3-4-3 with Gordon in goals, Suter, Halkett, Smith. That's all fine.
That's alright, yeah.
Right? Right wing back of Peter Herring, left wing back of Aaron McInnes, a centre mid partnership of Andy Halliday and Shea Logan, right wing Armand Nandwile, left wing Ewan Henderson, and up front Liam Boyce. What actually happened was Craig Gordon in goals, Smith, Halkett and Suter as a back three, left wing back Andy Halliday, right wing back Shea Logan, a middle two of Aaron McInnes and Peter Herring, Boyce in the 10, which was interesting, and then Ewan Henderson and Armand Nandwile up front in like a 3-4-1-2. Now, before we get into the game, three big talking points from the lineup actually. The biggest one, John Suter played his first game of competitive football in over 400 days. What was your feeling when you saw his name on the team sheet?
Please don't get injured. was at the forefront of my mind. No, obviously I'm chuffed. I mean, I love Soapy. he's absolute caviar. I've got a little soft spot for him in that it's sort of that ball playing centre half. He's just a very good footballer. And delighted to see him back. I also think he's a top defender. It's all right having one or the other, but the fact that he's ultimately both is fantastic, and delighted to see him back. And hopefully we can get him a suitable partner for the Premiership. Although that being said, he and Halkett didn't play together a lot, so maybe that's the future sort of centre half pairing. I don't know. We'll wait and see. But he, Michael Smith, and Craig Halkett. I was left very encouraged by that back three. Definitely. I know it. I know. Obviously, the game. we're going to touch on the fact that it is only Alloa, but to sort
we fucking got knocked out by them in the League Cup earlier this season.
No, of course, and to bleed John Souttar back in. I don't care who it's against. I think now is the time to give him just that little run of games, have pre-season, and hopefully he's back and fighting for the campaign ahead.
And then kind of combining the second and third points. What did you make of that little triangle up front with Boyce in the 10 and Henderson and Nandwillie coming back into the starting 11? I think when a lot of people saw that starting 11, they assumed it would be Henderson in the 10 and then Boyce and Nandwillie up front. However, I thought personally it worked out fantastically for all three of them.
Yeah, totally agree. And again, heading into it, I thought Henderson playing as the 10 instead of Mackay Stevens interesting. But then it obviously transpired through word of mouth that Henderson and Boyce Henderson and Nandwillie were up front together. So yeah, a kind of a little enlarged partnership is kind of what I've been harping on about for a good wee while. So it was quite encouraging to see that in an offensive sense. And like you say, we'll obviously get to Liam Boyce later on, but I think he could quite possibly be our best number 10. I know that's an interesting take, and we'll get to why later on, but like you say, the trio worked in tandem really well, so I'd like to see some more of that, definitely.
Well, we will get into the game because there is a lot to speak about. The first 20 minutes were the quietest period, and some people will say the most negative. My thoughts, you might disagree with this, my thoughts was the opening 20 minutes was a mix of players playing together in a reasonably new system that they're not used to, and really surprisingly coming up against an Alloa team that were actually going for it, which led to the 20 minutes where some people were saying, it's not that great, like we're looking solid but we're not actually doing too much. Do you agree that the two contributing factors? Do you think there's anything else, or were you actually quite happy with the opening 20 minutes as well as the rest of the game?
Quite happy would be a stretch. I thought for Alloa, I wasn't all that surprised to see them come out, because ultimately they're fighting for their survival, and yes, it is sort of unrealistic to assume that they would walk away from Tynecastle with all 3 points, but having looked at our recent form, I think they've got every right to do so. And ultimately, of course, now they're pretty much down. Had they nicked all 3 points, they'd be in a much better position, but suffice to say that's not the case. Harping back to the formation, a couple times in that first half it did sort of look like 10 outfield strangers playing together. But of course it's bound to happen when you've got a centre half returning from injury. We've not been all that accustomed to the wing backs, although I thought both were really good. And Boyce sort of dropping back into midfield was again another surprise. So when you break it down, it wasn't all that surprising to see the first half play out the way that it did. It sounds bizarre to say given the scoreline and how convincing the performance and result proved in the end, but I thought Alloa had a couple half chances first half. Nothing major, but certainly would have been interested to see how we'd have coped had we fallen behind, obviously given the flack that we've touched on that came in the past few weeks. But that being said, it's easily our most comprehensive win of the season, so I'm pleased in that sense on the whole.
Well, we will now get started with the goals that led to that comprehensive victory. The first came from two of the players that you just mentioned, actually. Full-back Andy Halliday playing in the full-back role, cuts into the middle after a nice kind of wee passage of play, and with the outside his boot, plays it through a couple of Alloa defenders, and a finish, right, that... This is so stereotypical football Twitter, right? But if this was a player in one of the top leagues, this finish would be getting shared everywhere, because Boyce just runs onto it and with one touch dinks it over the keeper to make it 1-0.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic finish. It reminded me of a goal that Stephen Naismith scored at Fir Park.
Yes! My God,
where he gets the second bite of the cherry. I can't remember who blocks it, and he dinks it over the Motherwell keeper, I think, to equalise.
Potentially.
But yeah, I mean, it's just great to see that our patience was rewarded. I thought Liam Boyce was just the star man of the first half. He just seemed to be at the heart of everything, and looked to provide for Big Nando a couple half chances for him. But like I say, I think if we are to rock a 4-2-3-1, which Robbie favours, he is perhaps our best option to play, as his squad number would suggest, because I thought his runs from deep were excellent. He picks up the wee pockets of space, and he's just a very clever footballer. So it was no surprise to see him open the scoring with what is a fantastic finish, after a nice passage of play and decent ball, I thought, from Andy Halliday. And like I say, patience rewarded.
Absolutely. We then have only a few minutes, only 6 minutes for the next goal, as Alloa are pressing a wee bit, and then Ewan Henderson picks the ball up right on the edge of our box, 85 yards away from the other end of the pitch, and he runs, and he's got an option, and he keeps running, and he runs, and he's running into 4 guys, and he somehow gets through. He then gets into the box, and he takes a massive touch, and you think, that's it, fair play, good run. He then makes it and is hauled down for the penalty. Now, I just want to quickly then jump, because the penalty, Liam Boyce scores the penalty, it's a penalty. We then come out in the second half, and we will get to the assist for this goal in a minute. Ewan Henderson runs through. He actually had a goal disallowed in the first half, and just has a lovely little chip to make it 3-0, puts the game to bed. This was the type of performance that we have been hearing from about every other coach that we've had over the last 3 years, from Levine to McPhee to Stendo and now to Nielsen, that Ewan Henderson is apparently capable of. This was easily his best performance in Maroon ever.
And that's big words coming from you, given you're not his biggest fan.
Exactly. I said on Friday night, if he plays like that, if he even plays half of what he played like on Friday night, every time he plays in this team, he is welcome to be in this team every single week for me.
It's big words, and I can't disagree. I thought his Messi-esque run was just unbelievable. Andy Irving congratulating him behind the goal was brilliant as well. But yeah. I'm delighted you said what you said, because I thought it was just me, in that once he'd entered the box, I thought he'd done too much. I thought they'd lost it once he takes that touch past the last defender, just before Neil Parry makes contact. But so Stonewall and Liam Boyce does the rest. It just, to me, this is what we've been craving for, in the sense of it's an academy graduate looking to take his chance, and ultimately Ewan Henderson did exactly that on Friday night. I thought he was fantastic. He and numerous others, of course.
Absolutely. We will now get to who assisted him for his goal, because, listen, I am quoted on this podcast as saying, over the last few years, Peter Haring has been our best player. He's been our most influential player. When we had him, we win. Case in point, as statistics showed that when Peter Haring plays, Hearts have won 55.91% of all games.
I couldn't believe that when I saw it, by the way. I mean, yep. I knew it was decent, but that is a really good stat.
When he hasn't played, we have won 33.19% of all games. His assist for Ewan Henderson is one of the best passes I've ever seen a Hearts player make, and it summed up his performance on Friday night. Boyce was deservedly man of the match, right? But Haring will feel gutted that he didn't get it. A mental stat here: of the 6 goals that we scored, Peter Haring was either the last or second last pass in 5 of the 6, and the only one he wasn't involved in was the Henderson run and therefore Boyce penalty.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
He plays it off to Andy Halliday, who then plays it off to Boyce. Then Henderson scores that thing.
But the last was the one that I thought you were going to say.
Oh, of course, so it would have been 4, because Nandwilly and Walker.
Yeah.
Of course, I forgot about that one, sorry. So yeah, 4.
Even still, that's 2/3. 2/3 of the goals on Friday night. You're right. I thought Ewan Henderson's goal was the pick of the bunch. The ball from Big Pete is absolutely exquisite. And to be fair, it obviously has to take a fantastic run from Hendo to make it happen. And it's just a really composed finish, a great goal. And at 3-0, that's the game as good as done in my book, which was nice. And you mentioned Liam Boyce there, Big Pete having a case for man of the match. I thought the midfield trio were all excellent and could all arguably feel as though they would have a case to put forward.
Absolutely. We then have Liam Boyce getting his hat-trick. Ewan Henderson plays the ball in. We'll feel a wee bit remiss not to get an assist as Neil Parry makes a save from, is it McInnes? It's McInness's initial effort, and then Liam Boyce thunders home. Breaks the net almost. Delighted. And then, speaking about him, in what I think was his best performance so far and summed up everything that we'd heard since signing, Peter Herring plays the ball out to Shay Logan, who sends a big ball up, and you think Nandwilly's going to take this and bring it down, but no. Aaron McInnes traps it in mid-air and flicks it over his head, brings it down. He's got 3 players in front of him in the box. He Cruyff turns, does 2 of them, cuts back again and drills it into the bottom corner. I actually think from an individual perspective this was the best goal. I agree though with what you're saying about Henderson's goal because the whole move generally, but McInnes' individual brilliance. I mean, all the goals were great in fairness, because Boyce's first as well was fantastic, but McInnes looked like the player we've been told that we were buying.
Joe Savage said we're gonna play him in sentiment. Whoa, words can't describe when we see him in maroon and white. His head is fine, he scores belters all the time. That's why we'll sing to death for Aaron McInnes.
I was waiting. No, don't do that.
No, I thought that I thought the goal perfectly captured his performance, to be honest. I too thought that Stephen Naismith's think was intended for Big Nandwilly. And I'm not going to lie, having just sung that song, had McInnes not done what he did, I may have been calling out for him instead. But it's a great strike. I loved him working the space, just like you said, just enough to get that strike off. Fantastic finish. And that was the icing on top of the cake. That was an excellent performance from the Irishman for me. I've got to say as well, I'm a big fan of Scott Wilson playing the A-Team theme, which I believe is Alloa's goal song. So
yes,
top shit housery, I have to say.
Absolutely, that was fantastic. And then we finish it off. Jamie Walker comes on the bench, off the bench. He's on the park for like 4 minutes. It was a kind of summary of Alloa's night, as it was just kind of, Naismith just played like a ball to nobody in the general area of the bottom right hand corner. Walker keeps running for it, fair play to him. The defender plays it back to Neil Parry, and I don't know what he's doing. It's one of those moments where if it comes off it looks great. Gordon did a similar thing actually right at the start of the game, but Neil Parry got his feet all caught under him. Armand Nandwilly did really well to press him, slides in, and then Walker just has to slide it home for 6. Obviously there's not much to say about the goal, but I wanted to say Armand Nandwilly is the striker we've been crying out for, in the sense of, we've been saying, you especially, that we needed a target man for ages, and everybody obviously agreed. But often when we get target men, they're not good at that role. They might be big and they might be strong, but they're not really good at it. Like, that's not what their game's all about. Nandwilly wins everything. He wins absolutely. If it's his head, it's his chest, it's his knee, he traps it at his feet. He brings in defenders, and yeah, listen, he only got 1 assist, right? He probably should have scored first from an Aaron McEneff corner in the first half. However,
and Liam Boyce sends one across the box, which he does well to slide in, but I actually thought he got enough contact on it that it looked as though he should have scored, but carry on.
But what he adds, and it's literally what I said at the start of the January transfer window, I was like, see if we have a striker that comes in and doesn't score many goals but adds generally to the team, I'll be happy. Now Nandwale has played several games and got several goals and assists, so he's actually doing that part. But for me, the biggest positive is that he's creating space for Liam Boyce, Ewan Henderson, Stephen Naismith by just being a target that can actually soak up pressure.
Couldn't agree more, and this was the vision that I'd had when I said that we needed a target man type. I think you're right in what you said, in that we often sign a kind of big brute, but Nando can play. He's, his hold-up's phenomenal. There was a goal kick from Craig Gordon, and he's literally he's got his hand back against the Alloa defender, and he takes it on his chest and just dishes it out to the I think it's then the right hand side. It's he's a big handful. He can play, and he and Boyce have the making of a fantastic partnership. I don't know, obviously, the part that Ewan Henderson will play, but the three of them looked great. And Big Nando, I'm really taken to him. I really am. I really like him, and like I say, just hope that he and Boyce, the chemistry, can just keep on improving. And hopefully we see a big campaign from him next season as well. Well,
that did summarise everything and finish it with 6-0, our biggest win margin of the season. In my opinion, our best performance of the season. Did you see that happening after the past couple of weeks we've had? I know it's Alloa, I know we're top of the league, I know they're bottom of the league, but with the way we've been, did you see that happen?
Hand on heart, no, I didn't. I thought that was... Do you know... It's as though we're trying to make amends. We can't make amends from the Brora game and several disappointments since, but that's easily our best performance and subsequent result since Wraith away. And it's a baby step. That's all I'll say. I mean, I'm pleased with the win. I'm not going to get carried away. Now we've won the league, great. We're back where we are, or back where we belong. Cool. Ultimately, I'm still disappointed given the last few weeks. However, I can't be all down given we've now seen what this team are capable of.
It was what a novelty. You play players in a system that benefits them and play them in their actual positions.
I was going to say exactly that. There we are talking about Aaron McEneff as a box-to-box midfielder. He's played as a central midfielder as opposed to being shunted out on the right, and has arguably his best performance in maroon and white. I mean, it's no rocket science, is it?
Exactly. I was just delighted. I had no negatives, nothing to say negatively, because you can't. I don't care who you're against. If you win 6-0 in a competitive game of football, you've done fantastically, regardless of who you are and who the opposition is. And I think our manager, Adam, knew that, because
I agree in that there's no negatives. But but what's about to come here, I think we may disagree.
I think we'll disagree as well. However, Robbie Nielsen spoke to BBC and Sportsound. So to BBC, he said, "We've taken a bit of flack, so it's good to get back to winning ways. There'll be a few pundits that aren't happy tonight, so it's good to ram it down their throats." He then, to BBC Sportsound, said, so that's us now, 14 points clear, we're about to win the league, so hopefully that'll keep me in the job till Monday. So,
I didn't hear the Sportsound comment, can I just say? Oh.
Oh, well, he said that.
I'll need to play that back. Was that Friday night, directly after it?
Yep.
Oh God, I'll play that back. That's interesting.
So, as the one out of the two of us who has been calling for his head more, it was almost as if he was speaking right to you. Oh
yeah, that's it. I've totally changed my opinion of the past few weeks and months because of a 6-0 win over one of the 2 part-time teams in the division.
Wait,
who, like you said, had dumped us out of one of the 2 cups that we could realistically win along with the league.
Wait. I'm fine with everything that you said apart from one point. I don't like it how in the fallout from that game, some people who have been annoyed that Robbie hasn't beaten part-time teams, when everybody else was like, yes, this is great, genuinely a feel-good moment, hooray, people are going, well, it's only a part-time team, it's not that impressive. It's like, you can't simultaneously go, oh, you can't even beat part-time teams. Then when we not only beat part-time teams, obliterate them, go, well, it's only part-time teams. It's like, you could only beat what's in front of you.
No, you're right, mate. You're right. But they did knock us out the cup. And
yeah.
And if you're breaking it down, would I rather have lost that on Friday night and have gone to the latter stages of the League Cup? Possibly.
Can you not give him that? What he said.
What?
Can you not, tongue in cheek, in that night, he's just won 6-0. I'll give him that. Having a wee dig. He doesn't get to have a dig back. Managers don't. It's like, you don't get to, as a manager, obviously. It's like you're in the media. You get to have all the patter and all the comments made about managers. You get to say if you think a manager should be sacked or hired, blah, blah, blah. Managers just have to, for right or wrong, managers just have to go, no, I'm blocking it out or whatever. Some managers speak about reactions to the press, but it's only when it's quite extreme. I'm fine with Robbie having a wee dig on that. And it would be different if we won 1-0 and then he was saying that, but in our best performance of the season, I think he can have that night being quite chuffed with that.
That makes one of us.
Do you not think he can have that?
No. Why?
Because we've just won 6-0.
And we've spoken about players being played in their correct position. Maybe that would have been a start as to why the results have been so poor in previous weeks. Nothing changes for me because of a Friday night win over Alloa.
No, but no one's saying that. What I don't understand
is... You mean it's just like a consolation for him?
No, I just mean I don't understand why people were so annoyed at what he said. People were going like, oh, see, this is proof that we're just fucked as a club. It's like, what? What, winning 6-0 and the manager being chuffed is proof that we're fucked?
No, do you know...
I'm not saying it affects it. I'm not trying to say that, oh, we've now beaten Alloa 6-0, so therefore you must now think Robbie Neilson is the man to take us forward and stuff like that. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, enjoy your team win. Not to you, to people who messaged me.
Because I did enjoy it.
Yeah, of course, because you're an intelligent person. Like, I'm fine with our manager having a laugh after just winning 6-0 and just winning the league in the same weekend. I'm absolutely fine with that.
I get where you're coming from. I think, do you know, even in Levine's tenure, he'd come out with stuff which I'd get annoyed at, but then looking back, some of it was quite funny as well. So cool, okay, he can have it, but like I say, nothing really changes for me.
I don't know.
Do you know? I don't even know where I'm going with this. These type of wins, while they're great, it also makes me think of previous weeks, and it's like, well, where has this been for a good few weeks and months?
But it doesn't matter because we got it done.
Eventually.
Doesn't matter, we still got it done.
Brilliant.
And what we got done was, because that was Friday night, Saturday, Wraith Rovers were playing Arbroath. Dundee were playing Morton?
Greenock Morton at home.
Yes. Wraith then run away 2-0 leaders. And we're thinking, Hearts fans are thinking, alright, okay, cool. We're going to have to wait until next match day, whether or not we're involved, because Wraith have a couple of games to play before we next play. Dundee as well, I think. But it was like, alright, okay, cool. And then Dundee finishes 1-1, and out of nowhere, Dick Campbell's Arbroath and Ricky Little wins Heart of Midlothian the Scottish Championship on that day, as they came back from 2-0 to draw 2-2 in another test. What it it's a perfect way for us to win the league this season, in the sense of it's other teams being shit. It's not us, and it's us obliterating. So I said that on Twitter. I was like, I'm delighted that the weekend we've won it, regardless of the way this season's gone, and the amount of frustration, and the shocking results, and the awful results, and the terrible results. I'm glad that we won it on a weekend where we obliterated a team that really wanted us down here, essentially relegated them, and then our rivals in the league, in terms of the only teams giving us a run, fucked up for us to win it.
And it's not, I mean, obviously we have had to win, but it's kind of out of our hands in the sense that it's quite underwhelming. That being said, I mean, in 14-15, when I think it was Rangers won at Easter Road, and then we won the league, that was brilliant. But do you know, I'm just relieved. It's not even like I'm pleased, delighted. It's just, I think everybody just had a collective sigh on Saturday afternoon, like, thank God that's finished.
I didn't expect to be as happy as I was. I wasn't like delighted like I was in 2014-15, as you say. I wasn't like dancing around my flat and stuff like that. But I was surprised when I was actually like, I was just in a much better mood. And I was like, well, we've actually won the league. Like,
so I know, just thinking ahead to next season.
Yeah, basically. But that's the thing. It was kind of like, oh, I never need to watch the Championship ever again. Because that's the biggest positive for me. I hate this league. I hate that people are saying it's good. I hate that it's not. Just because someone's competitive doesn't mean it's good, right?
I was just looking forward to when we're in a relegation battle, and this will get, that very clip will get played back to you when we're never having to watch the Championship again.
We won't be in a relegation battle. But that's like, listen, I understand that people wanted the narrative that we would struggle in this division, maybe stay here a couple of seasons, do what Hibs did, do what Dundee United did, do what Dundee did, stuff like that. Like, I get it. It's a very tantalising narrative. It creates more attention to your league that doesn't even have a sponsor, I think. I get it. I get that. I get why the BBC put us on TV at every available opportunity, because it created moments like Dundee and Dunfermline and stuff like that where we got embarrassed. And obviously Brora wasn't on TV, but you can bet your arse they wished it was. Stuff like, listen, I get that, but this league is shit. Here's the biggest question for me: do you think anyone is going to go up through the playoffs? Because I don't.
Potentially.
I just don't see it. I don't see it at all.
I do. I listen, it all depends on who occupies the playoff places. Of course it does, but I think having...
I disagree. I don't think any of those teams in this league can go up.
But I've watched some of the Premiership, mate, and
I know. I get
funny.
that.
I'm not being funny. The Ross County Inverness game that was on the other night in the Cup, there's County go ahead and they're pegged back almost instantly by Inverness, and are ultimately played off the park by a Championship side who have got an interim manager given Robbo's absence. Do you know? I don't think the gulf's...
That's not my point. No, I know. I fully agree. I don't think the quality is that big a difference. I just don't count any of the Championship teams to go on a run to win through the playoffs. It's not to do with the actual quality.
That's fair enough.
But I just don't see anybody, like, for example, I don't see either Dundee, Dunfermline, Inverness or Queen of the South winning enough games in a row to get up.
I get that. I love all the talk, by the way, of us potentially lying down to Inverness to deny.
I want it to happen so badly.
Could you imagine that?
Play the under-14s. It'll be class.
The seed would be unbelievable.
Give Neil McCann and Robbo just a wee win.
That would be hilarious. But no, I mean, I'm looking at it from a general viewpoint. I think only 2 teams have come up through the playoff since it's
Hamilton and
Livingston.
Livingston, yeah, of course, yeah.
I think that's it. Because Falkirk failed in the playoffs.
I mean, it felt like 8 times. I know it was only like twice, but it felt like they were so... Because both the season we were down and then the season after... Yeah, it was like, oh, they're really good, and then they just never got up, and now they're
languishing in League One. Yeah, it's crazy. No, I get where you're coming from, but do you know, I'm not all that surprised. Like I say, I think a lot of it depends on who occupies the playoff place. I think Kelly have a strong enough squad that they'd blow any of the championship teams away. But if it's Ross County, I think we could be up for a little upset, maybe. Hopefully, anyway, because I'd love to see Accies go down automatically, and County, if they went down via the playoffs, and Inverness ideally did them in the final.
I hope Inverness win the playoffs.
That would be tremendous.
Yeah.
How would your medicine be then, Roy McGregor? You melt.
I would. That's the thing. Like, I say that like they're all shit and stuff like that. I do like Inverness. Like, I hope Inverness go up. That would be the best situation if after this, as you say, that is probably the two teams you pick as well. Like, Hamilton and Ross County go down, Hearts and Inverness come up. That would be great. Finally, though, speaking about the league win, this is going to be an interesting debate to finish it. John Souttar has been in the press. So the headline is, John Souttar says Hearts celebrations can wait until they achieve something worth celebrating. So he started the thing going, I don't think I can get a medal and I don't want one either. It's the boys that have won the league. I've just been in the background. That's fair enough. Before we get into anything, you need to put, what is it? You need to play in 25% of all the games?
Well, do you know, I'm not entirely sure how it's going to work with obviously the shortened season. I'd imagine so.
True.
I thought it was a minimum of 5 appearances. I don't know where
I thought it was from. As well. Yeah, I think it is.
I think that's right. I don't know. I'd need clarification, but I was adamant that it was a minimum of 5 appearances, which is why Shea Logan's signing might just sort of it might just fall in that sort of bracket to gain a medal. I don't know. That'd
be funny. However, yeah, so Souttar says that. However, and then he goes on to be a bit like, I just want to play. And it's like, yes, so we all do. But then he says this quote, and it's got people talking about a bigger thing. So, John Souttar is quoted saying, we shouldn't be down here. That goes without saying. A club like us should never be in the championship. I don't think there'll be massive celebrations. It'll be job done, we're back where we belong. There'll be celebrations next season if we win a cup or get in the top 3/4, not for winning the championship. So, this obviously just in the immediate term of this has been met with universal praise by Hearts fans. I said make him captain. Like, it's one of those things where it's just like, oh, he gets it. Like, he gets it. That's what Hearts fans have been saying all year. Fantastic to see. However, it coincides with I guess you could call it social media campaign by a multitude of Hearts accounts to hashtag keep it in the stand. Which is it's as simple as it sounds. The campaign is about don't give the perceived Doncaster, SFA, SPFL collaboration how would you even say it? Don't give them the positive of Hearts take away the trophy. We're all celebrating it. It looks great. Everybody's buzzing, and it's like, yes, hooray, we've done that. The kind of general point is just take your medals, don't really celebrate, don't lift the trophy, either leave it in the middle of the ground if it's in the centre circle, if they've brought it out, just leave it there and don't touch it, or if it is in the stand we'd have to bring it out, and by that I mean like an official at the club, leave it in there and we just have it very muted so they don't get that experience. Now, I said this on Twitter, I literally have zero opinions on this. I don't care what we do at all, but I think you have stronger opinions on this than me, so I'll let you speak about this.
I'm fully condoning this hashtag leave it on the stand campaign. However, there is a little part of me that thinks, what if we sort of like half lifted it? Was that I don't know. You know, it's not like tons of joy. It's just a kind of Naismith just sort of picks it up with one arm, just thrusts it up in the air, immediately puts it back down.
That would be amazing in fairness.
But no, I think for the most part I'm fully behind this. Leave it on the stand. I think, yeah, it's pettiness, and you know, now that it's done, why not? Let's get back to being arseholes. We want Hearts to be hated. We want Tynecastle to be toxic, intimidating. That's what this club needs. A successful Heart and Midlothian team is when Gorgie is grim, and that's what I want, and that's what I'm craving. So yeah, this would be a good start. So hashtag leave it on the stand.
Well, but to play devil's advocate here, and actually it's not even really devil's advocate, because I kind of do feel this way as well. What about people who may never win a trophy again, or have never won a trophy, like Ewan Henderson? This is his first trophy as a Hearts player. I would, and I know that so much of the leave it on the stand thing is saying, no, I don't have an issue with players celebrating, just don't do it publicly. It's like, I don't like the fact that people are dictating how our own players and management staff should react, because at the end of the day,
it's their hard work that's got.
They have done it. They have went and won a league title, and I know we should be doing it, and it's not an achievement in the grand scheme of things, but on an individual basis, it probably is. As I say, for people like Ewan Henderson, again, probably not like Craig Gordon, Stephen Naismith, and stuff like that, who have won so much bigger things, been involved in so much bigger things. But I don't know what the quality of the Irish League is. Is this the biggest thing Aaron McIneff's won? I just feel a bit weird. Andy Irvine, he's never won anything for us, and he's a Hearts fan.
But he'll understand it. I think it kind of harps back to this message from earlier, in that it's too easy. I think it'd be so easy for us to bask in this, and to be honest, surely there's more of an incentive to win a major honour as opposed to, I'm not even going to call it a minor honour, because like you say, it is a league title, but what really does it matter?
That's the thing. I don't disagree with any of that, right? Because yeah, absolutely. I get
where you're coming from, in that it's Ryan McGowan, I think, or Craig Beattie talked about that after the 2012 win, and that some of the squad hadn't been to a final and haven't been since.
Yeah.
So I understand totally where you're coming from, but surely our ambitions are a little bit more.
But I don't think that comes into it. It's one of those things where it's think about you in your own life. You might, when you're at school and you win something, you're not well, I'm not going to be chuffed with this because I should be doing better. It's well, I know this isn't the be-all and end-all. I'm still going to be chuffed I won something. Again, I'm not disagreeing with you either. This is such a weird thing. Because, I don't care. See if we boycott it, even so much as that players don't go out and collect medals, right? I'm fine with that. See if they go and have ticker tape and confetti and they're all jumping about. I'm also kind of alright, fine, go for it. I don't really care. The only thing I don't like it when people are saying, and it's not the kind of, in fairness, I will say this, yeah, it's not the main people who are sharing it. It's not the kind of big Hearts Twitter accounts or this is my story, who's been a very big proponent of it. They're not saying this. It's kind of just the random people going, I'll be embarrassed on behalf of any player that celebrates, or it's ridiculous if anyone does, because as you said, what ambition is that? It's well, at the end of the day, if you have that attitude, say, what ambition is it to celebrate winning the championship? You kind of have to say that against us in 2014-15. I know the situation's different, but it's the same trophy.
Yeah.
Those players the players who are winning the trophy this year are winning the exact same trophy and getting the exact same medals as the other team. I'm not, before anybody says
I was going to say it's the circumstance thing, though,
yes, of course,
that's
absolutely
plays into the hands,
but the individual doesn't care about those circumstances. They've won the league, so I get it if they want to celebrate.
Yeah, my feelings towards the SFA and SPFL are well known, so in that sense I'm fully behind the campaign. But again, I totally understand why you don't really care, because
I just want out this league, Adam. I just never want to think about this again.
It's like us letting Nielsen have Friday night, because they can sort of have it, but I'm not gonna remember Mihai Popescu as a Hearts legend because he's won a championship title with us.
In fairness, you didn't even remember El Hasanoui as a championship legend, or Kenny Anderson as a championship legend.
Exactly. So, Great. Thanks for your service. See you later.
I think that is the perfect way to end it for a summary of the championship season. Yeah. Thanks for your service. See you later. We're done with this.
Thanks for totally wasting our time, making us have 27 fixtures of hell, 3 to go. Thank God when it's all done. And yeah, Premiership bound. Woohoo!
I will say this, Adam doesn't know this, but after the end of the season, we're going to do a full episode doing a review of the season.
I'm actually up for that.
Yeah.
I feel as though there could be a lot of anger that's sort of re-emerging.
Exactly. That'll be funny. So the week after the Wraith game, we'll do that. But thank you very much for listening. We are champions. Get in. Now, just before we finish up and do all the admin side, me and Adam were speaking. Obviously, we don't play now all week for the rest of this week. However, we are playing on Tuesday night, a week after this podcast gets released. So, next week, the podcast will be out on Wednesday, not on Tuesday. So, on the 20th of April, Hearts play Morton. On the 21st, the podcast will be out, not on the 20th. Basically because we're going to record immediately after the Morton game, because otherwise we would what would we speak about?
Simple. It's not rocket science, is it? We need a talking point. We need material. The Morton match provides exactly that. Simple as.
Exactly. But yeah, so massive thank you to everyone who has listened. We are at Perth to Paisley on all forms of social media. You can get us Perth to Paisley on all your podcast platforms. Please leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice. It really, really does help. We're also on YouTube if you want to just listen to it. YouTube, if that's easier, if you don't have a podcast platform. Adam, where can people get you individually on social media?
They can get me individually on social media at Adam T. Kendall. And before we wrap up, mate, I just want to say a massive thank you to all our loyal listeners, including Cammy Anderson's uncle, his great uncle,
yes,
who listened last week. So Malcolm Elliott, if you're listening, thank you very much for that. Cammy hadn't let me know whatsoever. I don't think even he was aware. And he obviously messaged me saying that you're a loyal listener. So I thank you and all the rest of the Heart of Midlothian family for your listenership throughout the season and hopefully into next season as well. What about yourself, mate?
Absolutely, I fully support that message. I am at dmcIver22. We will be back slightly later date next week to discuss all things Morton. If any other things happen in the press, we'll speak about that as well. Heart of Midlothian have won the championship. It might not have been in the way we wanted. It might not have been in the way that we actually enjoyed ever. However, it's done. We're back to the Premiership. We'll see you next time.
# leave it on the stand.